Hi, you're watching Chung Dha.
Sorry about that. Hi, you're watching Chung Dha, and today we're talking about testing and not testing an F1 car or any racing stuff. We're just going to talk about using camera equipments and all those things, when and how you should test it. So yeah, you probably want to watch a lot of nice online videos where people test out stuff, people grabbing their equipment, buying a lot of stuff and just show you stuff. However, yeah, you learn a little bit about it, like the pros and cons, but do you actually know how to use it? You probably won't know, yeah, basically how to turn it on if it's like really foreign camera. Even if I just watch a nice like Olympus pen video of somebody reviewing it, it wouldn't make me like a professional actually knowing how to use an Olympus pen if somebody just give it to me, and I wouldn't know where the power on or off button would be. If you want to test stuff out, the first thing is, the easiest thing is actually to borrow it. If you have a friend who has the camera or any of the equipment, just borrow it, just ask them if you could play around and see how it works. Have him or her explain how to use it, the pros and cons about it, if you should buy it or not, if there's anything else they could even suggest. And also, yeah, there is places you can nowadays rent the equipment. A lot of special rental equipment studios that actually rent stuff. Even Canon has their own rentals. However, you need to be a Canon professional to do that, but you can rent their studio plus rent the equipment for a certain X amount of fee. However, the fee will be less than actually buying most of the equipment, but renting is a great option to get you to actually know how to use it. Also, before renting, possibly you should download the manuals to actually know how to use it, and then when you test out the equipment you basically know what to do with it and actually know where the buttons are. Yeah, the testing would be just trying it out, see if it really fits your style, if it has a big negative thing or not, because if you buy something you're really stuck with it. I have this XA10, which should be a nice camera. It has this problem with this shake, but this is a very standard problem, but it doesn't really get captured that much, so it's not much of a problem unless you shake the camera like crazy. But if you hold it and just use it normally, it wouldn't be a problem. However, there's one thing I've noticed after buying is that every time I white balance it's really wrong, because this monitor is actually too blue, and it's not a problem on just this camera, it's basically on all the cameras, and you should white balance just looking through this small viewfinder. And yeah, that was something I didn't knew because I didn't test the camera before I bought it. So you should test stuff out and actually just learn from the experience with it and see which one is better or not. You can also test it at shops, however more in-depth testing be like done by yourself, because you know what kind of shots you want to try to get, what stuff you want to achieve. However, now to the topic, when should you test it? Because a lot of people like to test it in the field, actually using the camera. Actually using the camera is not a problem, because you can just go on a holiday or just go to an event, just go anywhere, just film about. However, don't do it when you're doing a competition, don't do it when you're actually working, because it will have a negative effect on the two. Because when you're filming a competition, everybody's basically giving their best, because the final thing will be either screened, put online, people will actually see it, and it will be your or part of your portfolio. If it's bad, people, or it will give a negative effect, because people will blame a certain part why it's bad. Because if the acting is bad, it's the actor. If the shooting, the film looks really horrible, it's basically going to be the DP. And if yeah, the story is horrible, it's the scriptwriter. If everything is just a mess, it's going to be the director. So you have to know, if you do something, you have to give your best. So if you're just testing out your camera, it will have a negative effect, especially when others are giving their 100% or even more to get their best over into your camera. And especially I've noticed it in several occasions where people were just testing their cameras in the competition, and then you see on the screen it looks horrible. Basically, the very first film competition I've ever entered, which is the 48 Hours in Hong Kong in 2009, I won the Best Cinematography and Editing Award, which was kind of surprised, but when we screened or saw all the movie, we knew we won it, because it was so obvious. Because I was using the 500D, and before that I actually borrowed a 5D Mark II, and I filmed a lot of events with it, so I knew the ins and outs of both the DSLRs. The 500D was my own camera, and I only owned the Nifty 50 and the 1855, the kit lens, and those two lenses was basically the only equipment I had. I also had like a microphone, however that camera didn't have a mic input, but we used a different camera for that. However, that had a other issue because I didn't own that camera, but eventually yeah, basically won the Best Cinematography and Editing because the other teams were testing stuff. So you had people with 5D Mark IIs, people with EX1, people with Red 1. Those probably with Red 1 and EX3, EX1, they probably were not testing it. They were probably actually knowing how to film it. But the people with the DSLRs, you could see they were struggling like really a lot. They had white balance issues, they had exposures issues because they didn't know how to actually expose correct. They didn't, some of them didn't even know how to set it from manual to, or from automatic to manual, and those issues were not there for me because I already was shooting with the camera, and I just give my 100% to shoot the best I could. And yeah, just made a movie that looks like a big commercial because everything looks just so beautiful, and yeah, everything just looked perfect. And that was like, the movie had like all kinds of issues, but I did my part to make it look good. Your movie is getting screened, so especially with 48 Hours, it will be screened, so people in the audience could be potential your future crews that you're going to work with, and they will remember like, oh, you did that movie, it looked horrible. So as people will remember like what you did, so you should give your best and not try things out. If you just try things out, do it in your free times and not in a competition base. Also, don't try things out while you're at work. It's not that great for a client to see you panic because you don't know how to do a certain thing, or seeing you actually like go on internet searching a manual or searching things how to do some stuff, because they would not be really that yeah, they will get more concerned because they don't know if you're actually good at your job because you're searching for all kinds of information. So you should just be filming and not searching information, and just do your job. If you buy a camera, after you tested it, you should also test out your equipment for at least a day and set it up, customize certain settings before you actually go to a shoot and work with it. Because yeah, renting one and then actually owning one is also two different things, and you should test out even slightly more before you actually go and work with your camera. So you should at least have like 1 or 2 days before you actually get used to the whole thing and the whole camera, and then go work with it. Because the workflow, if you change the camera, a lot of things probably will change also. I also have like a story of like the last 48 hours I did. I'm not sure if that DP, it was, I've heard it wasn't his first time filming with the 5D Mark II, but basically the DP or the camera operator one asked me while I was camera operator 2, he asked me how to review the video on his 5D Mark II. Well, on most cameras it's plainly the button with the square with the triangle in it. There's no camera I think I've ever seen that doesn't have that button, but he had to ask me, which is probably the simplest thing there is. Even if you read your manual, you should basically know it. So basically, like, that made me majorly concerned. If camera operator 1 asks a very simple question about his camera, you should be, or actually you should know that that movie is not going to end pretty well. So that was like a movie that didn't end up well because I was camera operator 2 instead of 1, but yeah, basically learn from it, and also learn that you shouldn't test stuff out while you're in a competition. Yeah, a lot of nice things heading this way now, and yeah, hopefully you guys actually like this tip or information. So you guys now know, just borrow and rent stuff before actually buying it. Test equipment in your free time, because you have control over if it's being shown or not. You can test stuff out in your free time and film you're testing it, put it online if you want it. However, if everything from that test looks really bad, it won't be shown. You can just throw all those footage away and nobody would ever know about it. But if you're shooting a competition, people have to use the footage. If you're shooting a job, people will see the footage. So you should know not to test or do those weird stuff when you're doing something that's important. So that was mainly it. Hopefully you guys like this tip, and please subscribe. And if you have any questions, please comment below, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye. Let's go for some testing. Go-kart time.